Let me tell you a little bit about our meetup in case you are a first timer. So our meetup, Agile DevOps TFW, we may have founded it 6 or 7 years ago. I lost track of time. When I co-created it with two of my friends, my goal was to explore topics at the intersection of Agile and DevOps. And mostly our topics are Agile. I don't have as many connections in the DevOps space. If you are passionate on this topic, you want to speak, or you want to introduce me to someone who is in this, a trusted expert in this area, let's send them my way. I'd love to have them speak to our meetup, right? So that's about our meetup. This meetup is made possible by my company, Smooth Apps. We are the sponsor. We help with Agile training, coaching, Agile transformation. If you go to our website, you can see our blogs, you can see our videos and webinars, and also our training classes. Some of our upcoming training classes, we just finished applying professional Scrum, and you will see that we've got PSPO, PSM, SPS, and PSM2. We've got classes scheduled until next year, and we'll be adding new classes. So if you're interested in learning Agile or Scrum from us, we'd love to have you in our class. A little bit about how we express our thanks to society. We are passionate about saying thanks to US military veterans and their families. I personally felt guilty that I am benefiting from the sacrifices of military families, and I'm doing nothing to say thanks to them. And so that's why my friend Greg Gomel helped me realize a dream of mine by co-founding Agile for Patriots. We give free Agile training coaching certification to US military veterans and spouses. And in fact, right now we have cohort 7 of our Agile for Patriots, which is in their practicum. So these are some of the people. You got Daryl, John, Dave Whitley, and Dave Portillo. So they are actually applying Scrum right now. They are in sprint 2. So this is the 7th cohort. We've made a difference to 42 families. And in fact, 2 of our panelists today, Cecile and Tabitha, are actually graduates from Agile for Patriots. Cecile was on cohort 3. Tabitha was on Tabitha, you're cohort 4, I think.
Yes,
right?
Forward momentum.
All right. Yes. So, as our graduates are going out into the industry, I'm becoming painfully aware of what challenges women might face when they are trying to play the role of Agile leaders, Scrum Master, Scrum Coach, Agile leaders. And as a male in the industry, in a male-dominated tech industry, I started wondering, what does it feel like to be a woman leader in a male-dominated industry? And I started wondering, is it possible that the life of a woman Scrum Master is more challenging? There are things that I can take for granted, but are very hard for women because of the challenges and barriers maybe a male-dominated world can put in their path. A couple of other challenges I've been thinking about is also, what are some unique superpowers that women bring to the world of Scrum Masters? Because as I look back at my career, 20 plus years in the industry, some of the most inspiring and influential people I have met in the tech industry are actually women. And so I want to explore that. There are some unique superpowers women bring in general, but particularly to the role of servant leaders. Okay, so I want to explore that. And the last is, should there be a woman leader who finds herself in an environment which does not allow her to shine brightly? What avenues might she have? How might she ask to be included and ask for an environment that allows her to unleash her awesomeness? So these are some questions I've been thinking about, and I don't have the answer, but I thought, why don't I reach out to 2 of my most trusted women leaders and ask them to explore these questions and educate me? So that's why I asked for Cecile and Tabitha. And what I would like to do is maybe Cecile and Tabitha, if you could tell us a little bit about your journey, what you would like people to know about your experience, and what called you to play the role of a servant leader. So I will stop sharing, and Cecile, maybe you could get us started, please, if you don't mind.
Absolutely, Ravi. Thank you so much. Can you all hear me?
Good. All right. So, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Cecile Palmer Malcolm, and I'm a senior Scrum Master with a large tech company. I'm with a location in New Orleans, and my journey to become a servant leader, I would say, began a long time ago. I'm the last of my siblings, and I've always been serving them. And it's interesting how we don't realize how just, the things that happen to us along the way prepares us for today. In addition to that, I learned in my somewhere in my 20s, early 30s, that I like to teach. And I think I have realized it's my gift. So I started teaching everyone just in general. If I learned something, as soon as somebody's interested, I am ready to teach. So people would start calling me teacher long before I actually started teaching professionally, because I did teach for a college in Jamaica. When I lived in Jamaica, I teach for the university for about 4 years. So, but long before that, and just over time, I realized that I liked serving people. I like to see when people light up. And so when I teach and they go, oh, wow, or I didn't see it that way, or the aha moments or the light bulb moments. So, just things in my life helped me to see my gift and recognize that my purpose is aligned with the gift. My purpose of helping others to become a better version of themselves and light up also ties in with the gift of teaching. So it was easy for me, honestly. And I like doing it. For those who know me will know that I'm I get excited when I share something with someone that they can use and be a better version of themselves. That's it. Over to you, Tabitha.
Thank you, Cecile. And I agree with her. She's such an awesome teacher, just a great person to know. So I do just want to add that. Cecile's a little same background is a little bit similar to mine as well. I am also a Scrum Master as well. I am a Scrum Master at a large convenience brand company here in the Dallas Fort Worth area. I've been there for 3 years. I'm a senior Scrum Master. I have personally always had a love for technology. I remember being this little girl and they're reprogramming my video, this game that I loved, and I didn't know what I was doing at the time, but I loved doing it. And I remember someone said, you should go into, computer information systems. And I was like, computer information systems, I'm a senior in high school. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do in this world. And I looked it up and I was like, that's what I want to do. So I remember my first day at college, jumping in wearing my bright purple backpack with my bright purple notepad and pen. I came into the class and it was like a little bit of a reality check for me because everyone were males. This was in the early 2000s. I'm showing my age here, but as technology was really starting to grow. And that to me was my first time kind of realizing, this industry is maybe not always what we think it is, but it's something, you have to find your place. For me, it took a while to find my place. And I end up, changing because it was a little bit harder for me to kind of find the groove of, everything's going around. And I still always had that love for technology and learning about it, being part of it. And that kind of transitioned me on as I got older. I started a business teaching people to cook. And that's where my love of teaching and coaching really came out and started shining for me. And where I said, you know what, this is something that I really like to do. And it fulfilled my personal needs of seeing that brightness from people's face, them understanding what they're supposed to gather from that. And ran into the Agile for Patriots program, and they kind of, it was like, this is Scrum Master, what's this is perfect. I can show my personable side. I can teach people. I can be part of a team. I can have fun with people and serve a purpose that fulfills my own need of helping and coaching people and being a servant leader to others. Oh, this is what I want to do. And that's where I decided this is what I have to do. This is what I think my calling in life has to be. So that kind of brought me to my core values of who I am is always, very aligned with the Scrum values as well, but in a different way of having integrity, respect for people, and just being knowing that other people know I have their self-interest at heart, and that as a team that we can move mountains together and there's no I in team. So that was really important for me. why I decided to become a Scrum Master and really put my passion and love of my background in technology together to be a rock star Scrum Master, hopefully.
Very good, very good. So it's interesting, similar, maybe some similar callings that maybe attracted you to the role of Scrum Master. Just so it feels like you were already serving people in different
Yes,
capacities,
absolutely.
and I think that's that's one of the most important callings of a Scrum Master in my mind. So now let's travel back in time, and uh, you are introduced to the role of Scrum Master, and maybe you are embarking on your first job as a Scrum Master. Uh, what do you think people, what was it like? What were you expecting it to be? And more importantly, if there was someone who is following your footsteps right now, what are some things you would want that sister of yours to be aware of? What do you wish someone had told you as you were embarking on your journey as an agile leader?
Is that me?
Okay, I think I'm gonna just
Okay.
take that one. So I would say, sister, let me tell you something. There's some things that are not written in a book. And there are things that you will learn along the way. Again, you won't find it in a book. You will encounter things that you have to think on your feet. You have to, navigate things quickly, but we do that naturally. Because I think women Scrum Masters, or women in general, we are intuitive. Ravi, I'm not knocking you, you're the man here, but there's something that we women come with that is it's almost like we have a third eye. So use your third eye. If something doesn't feel good, it may very well not be good. So explore that. I don't feel so good about this situation. Explore it. Think about, okay, is there one person that I can say this to? And this is how I do it. I would say, okay, I know I'm capable of making up stories. So tell me if I'm making up stories here. And then I tell the person, okay, this is what happened. What do you think? Do you think there's something here that I need to talk about with this person? Or I just made that up in my head. That's one of the things as a Scrum Master you will recognize, because you're dealing with people, and people are people. The other thing I would say to my sister is learn your craft, learn it very well, because as a woman, for whatever reason, some persons may think that you didn't go to the same school as the guys, so you don't know as much as the guys. I'm just saying, so learn your craft. If you want to be happy, study happiness. You want to be a Scrum Master, study it. Learn everything that you can. Watch the YouTube videos. On my Ravi was good with me with that. He would send us all kinds of links and so on. Check this out, come to this class. Agile for Patriots was like our foundation. This is where we went to get the knowledge, to find the people who were our allies. So I'm going to say, find your allies as well. Find the people who know what you want to do. Find the people who are doing what you want to do, and talk to them. Talk to them about situations. Talk to them about things that you think you may not be so clear on. I think I'm going to throw it to Tabitha. I don't want to take all the time. So Tabitha, uh,
Yeah.
what are
Yes.
your
No, you're right on target. That is very important. I agree with you. I would love to add to that as well. To my sister that's watching out there. You're coming into your first Scrum Master role. You know, I personally suggest definitely know your craft. Know what you're talking about and feel confident. I think confidence is key. If you go in there and you feel like, you know what, I'm confident. I know what I know. I'm gonna do my best that I can and put forth my best effort, that will take you leaps in galaxies away, as well as know your own core value system. Love as my own core value system, what's important to me. And like Cecile said, it was very important of, you know, um, does this feel good? Use your intuition. If this doesn't feel right, then there's something that's not right. You need to kind of reevaluate what's not right about that situation. And I definitely would suggest establish boundaries for yourself, on what you will and won't accept, what doesn't feel comfortable to you, and do it in a respectful way, but also let it be very transparent that, hey, this is a line I don't feel comfortable with you crossing, and this is my boundary for that. I think that's very important, especially in regards to the topic that we are using today. So those are just some tidbits that I would have to add to what she was saying. So I'll give it.
And Ravi, before you move on, there's something that Tabitha mentioned earlier about the core values. That's foundation. Know what your core values are. I mentioned earlier that sometimes we will tell ourselves stories. There is a book that I read some time ago by Don Miguel Ruiz. It's called The Four Agreements. The first one is be impeccable with your words. Don't take things personal. Don't make assumptions, and always do your best. And I try to keep that in the back of my head, because the don't take things personal thing, for us, we have to find the balance, because sometimes it is personal. So I have to determine in a conversation or in a situation, should I be taking this personal, or is this just a situation that I need to just, park it, deal with it? Or so find the balance, but your intuition is what tells you. So I like the fact that you mentioned the core values. Understand what they are. Know your core values. That's the foundation of where you will work, how you deal with your family, and everything else, your core values. Yeah. Thank you, Ravi.
Yes, very true. I do want to add one other quick sayings. I love those sayings from the book that you read. But my favorite one that my mother always says to me is, say what you mean and mean what you say. And she says it, what, you say it, say what you mean and mean what you say, and, and be direct with it. So I just want to add that, sorry.
No, that's good. And, if I were to just summarize my takeaways, one is, as I tie back to how important this is to the role of a Scrum Master, we all bring our core values to our Scrum team. And because we come from different backgrounds, religious, ethnic, socioeconomic, geographic, we are bringing all of those values. And as a Scrum Master, if a Scrum Master himself or herself is unaware of their own values and how their values impact the interaction with Scrum team members, then that Scrum Master may not be able to effectively surface the values of the team as we are trying to co-create a working agreement. And that person the Scrum Master may not be able to understand, hey, wait a minute, Ravi's body language is saying he's upset, but what could be the reason? And so if you don't understand your own values, you may not be able to look at the behavior of other human beings on your Scrum team from the lens of their values. And it may be hard to honor everybody's values in the context of a Scrum team. So that is so powerful. So know your values, and in a compassionate but firm way, verbalize your values and your boundaries. So tell people what you will and will not stand for. And that may pave the way as a Scrum Master when you're co-creating the working agreement, retrospectives, or facilitating events. It may help you create an atmosphere where people feel safe to verbalize their values and to honor each other's values and to honor each other's boundaries. So I really love that. I also love that, Cecile, you mentioned, find a trusted sounding board. So you're trusting your intuition, but you're figuring out, am I overreacting? So if you have a trusted sounding board, then that can help you master your craft. So important. Women are held to a higher standard than men. And it becomes super important to not give men like me an excuse to question a woman. So that is so important. One day, I hope when my daughters grow up, this will not be true, but we have some work to do in this area, especially men like me. And I love, Tabitha, that you were saying, find your allies, and your allies will help you with videos, with blogs, and so on. Very cool. Okay, so lots of good messages for your sister who might be starting out and following in your footsteps. I'd love to get some thoughts about what surprised you. And also when I'm asking you these questions, I'd love for you to not only drop on your own experiences, but that of your other fellow sisters you've been speaking to in the Agile community who are playing similar roles. So have you noticed any patterns on what might have surprised women Agile leaders, and especially are there any double standards, like the way, are there differences in the way that people may respond to a male Agile leader, a male Scrum Master versus the way people may respond to a woman Agile leader and a woman Scrum Master? Anybody can take that.
I personally would like to take that. You know, one of the first things I've learned just kind of watching my environment and from my own personal experiences is that we as Scrum Masters, we wear so many hats, you know, as a servant leader. You know, we want to help our teams, we want to do whatever we can to make them successful, unblock impediments, just be there for them. But sometimes I've noticed it can sometimes be a little bit easier for our female Scrum Masters to kind of fall into, you know, a role of a more, not a secretary almost, but just kind of more, a less of what we can really provide to our teams. Um, you know, and kind of start looking like, you know, we're doing more secretary work, just scheduling the meetings, just kind of just making sure everything's just good for them in that way, which is our job, but that's not our only job to our teams. And so I've noticed sometimes this can kind of happen. So I think sometimes the best way to do that, as I kind of mentioned earlier, is to establish your boundaries early and explain what a Scrum Master role is to the team, how I can, what I can provide to you as a team, what I can provide to you as a product owner, as well as the organization as a whole. I think that's really important. That's just one of the things that I've noticed, you know, from a, not necessarily a positive, you know, manner, but it can sometimes be that compared to our male counterparts, you know, they're kind of looked at as, you know, yeah, you could be the Scrum Master, but as a woman in a Scrum Master, we're supposed to be a little bit more nurturing or a little bit more motherly to the teams in that sense, or a secretary or like, but that's something I've noticed.
Yeah, I think society may have that stereotype that a woman is more of a caregiver. We have a way to transition, say, roles are changing. There's no reason why males cannot tap into their caregiver energy, and why there's no reason why a woman only has to be a caregiver. That is such a way to reduce the magnificence of a human being just to one thing. It's not either or. A human being can be so many things. Cecile, what have you noticed? What surprised you, or what might surprise your sister as she notices any changes in the way people react to her versus her male counterparts?
And it's interesting, Ravi, because there's a question in our Q&A, and it it brought me back to a situation that somebody told me about some time ago, where they work in an environment where it was almost you know, just harsh and fierce with each other, women to women. But outside of that, so you have the women fighting, or you know, just being harsh to each other, and then you have to deal with, of course, men being what she observed as dismissive. So the dismissive, as Tabitha mentioned earlier, is, you know, go set the meeting up, or go, you know, go do the paperwork, or, you know, just get that done. So it's almost as if they're dismissing you. That's the only thing you can do. Your brain doesn't, you know, you're not trained to do anything else, or you don't have the skills to do anything else. But one of the things that I would say to us women, my sister out there, myself, and especially to that person who expressed to me some time ago, it's been more than 6 months. Always remember that bring your full self to work every day, and align people, teach people how to treat you early, like, you know, your first couple of days on the job. So align the team, help the team to understand the role of a Scrum Master. Tabitha mentioned it before. What you do, you can talk about all the side things. So you can say, in addition to this, I may help you with this. So they don't think this is my role, but I will help you with this as well. But you talk about the things, align it early. Help the men, especially if you find that a man, or a particular man in the group might be treating you away. This is how I deal with it. I almost make them an ally. I make them an ally by saying, Ravi, I know you thought of this, because you and I probably, I remember you and I may have had this conversation before, or I just say, Ravi, you thought of this, so and so and so, and just kind of throw it out. So he feels included in the conversation or the decision that is being made. And it's hard for him to knock his own self. It's really hard. You're not going to go against yourself. So I kind of pull them in early when I see that there is I want to call it a dysfunction almost happening. So I try to just include them, but the ladies especially, because I know sometimes we can be catty with each other, for whatever reason. Help that lady to see early, especially once you recognize the behavior, find a way to include them, because like I said, it is hard for people to knock their own selves. They're not going to do that. You bring them into the circle of what you're trying to do, and they'll be on board early. One of the things also that ladies can do to help themselves become I would say, to help others to see them in a different light, or in the light that you want them to see you in, contribute to different forums in the organization, not just your team. So if there's a conversation happening somewhere, put in your input, research on the topic and add your input. Help people to see you're capable, help people to see, your knowledge, help people to see everything about you, that you're not just a Scrum Master, but you're a smart Scrum Master. All right, so it's helpful for you to train early what you want, how you want people to treat you and what you want to see happening. That's my 2 cents.
Very cool. Yeah, I think we train people on how to treat us indirectly by whatever we take from them. If we take crap, we are training them to say, keep giving me crap. And if we respect ourselves and we don't tolerate disrespect, then we are training them, hey, this is a line, please don't cross that line. So that, and you may not get second chances. I love what you said, Cecile. When you start a new engagement, the first few days might be super crucial, because people might push your boundaries and try to figure out how to treat you. And if you are too accommodating in the early days, it may be very hard to redraw the boundaries once those boundaries have been established in the minds of people. I also love what you said, Cecile, that engage in other ideas outside of Scrum Master, because you're not one-dimensional. You're a smart, capable person. You have awesome ideas to solve so many business problems. And in fact, that is important for a Scrum Master to gain credibility, because a Scrum Master has to be an entrepreneur, because you have to coach the product owner, which is all about entrepreneurship. And in some ways, Scrum Master has to coach the rest of the organization. It's all in the Scrum Guide. Scrum Master service to product owners, Scrum Master service to developers, Scrum Master service to the organization. So you have to be such a well-rounded human being to understand the nuances of running a profitable and viable business. And participating in other forums and conversations might make it harder for people to reduce you just to a one-dimensional person like a secretary. I love that. Very good. On the topic of women helping other women, so I love what you said. Okay, engage with them. Also, somebody told me once that how a person communicates to you or treats you, it very often is a reflection of what's going on inside of them. And I read in Facebook, you are collateral damage in everybody's war with themselves. So, it helps me, Cecile, as you said, I don't take it personal, the 4 agreements. If I see someone who's being mean to me, and my first reaction might be, why is this person being mean to me? But maybe there's a battle going on inside of that person. I may have just reminded them of something horrible that happened to them. And their behavior has got nothing to do with me. Something horrible happened to them in the past. And if I reframe that conversation, then it changes from I got hurt to maybe compassion. I'm so sorry for what happened to you. So
I like the way you put it, Ravi. It's what's going on inside. I love that. Yes, I agree.
Awesome. Good. All right, so let's move on to the next topic. So just to recap, some advice for the sister who's starting out, and then also some caution about some things which may surprise her, especially in terms of duality or contradiction in terms of how people relate to her versus her male counterparts. Let's talk about maybe a little bit more positive. What superpowers besides the intuition, besides the third eye that women have, what other superpowers do you feel women are blessed with, or skills they acquire because of their experience that can really help them create awesome, high-performing Scrum teams?
I'm gonna take a stab at that. I wanna go with the fact that we juggle so much in a day sometimes. We, in our families, our children look to us, and guys, gentlemen, bear with me here. We understand you help us, but the kids still come to us, you come to us, the neighbors come to us. We juggle a lot, and that's home. At work, it's the same thing. There are times when, other guys will come to us. So we organize things. We are able to do all of that and still have some time to go do our hair. So recognize, and I know I'm being a woman. I'm being a woman and I'm at work. So I'm thinking about everything, the full person, not just the fact that, I'm a Scrum Master and I know the entire framework, but I'm thinking about life in general. So just the fact that we have to juggle so much, we are capable of doing quite a bit in one day and getting the team focused by helping them to organize themselves. Because a self-organizing team or a it doesn't happen overnight. We have to help them many a times. We most times, because of course we have kids, some of us have more than one, we are able to see that personalities may differ, but you can still work together. These are things, gentlemen, I don't think like a man, so I can't, say how you think, but I think these are things that women naturally see and can apply to the organization quickly to help us to be efficient and productive, because we do it every day, we do it naturally. The other thing I really want to say is we have the gift of, again, intuition. We have the gift of observing. We have the gift of being, just the sister, the compassionate person, the taskmaster, because sometimes we have to be the hard taskmaster to get us to the finish line, even in Agile. So we come with, I want to just put one word around it by saying we come with that superpower of just being ourselves, being great, being caring and compassion at the same time we are doing the work. So recognize also that we wear a cape. When we come into the room, we bring a presence. We're able to just do things differently and help us, the entire team, to make headway with things that sometimes are impossible. So women, we come with just being ourselves, being great, being hard taskmaster, but at the same time, we learn how to step back sometimes and said, okay, let me see how this is going to play out. Whereas a man will kind of jump in head first because he's his way of thinking is different. He's more how are you, Ravi? Let me see. When you go into a situation, how do you tackle things? Because we tend to just observe for a little bit, and then we say, okay, let me see where this is going to go. But sometimes men don't have the capacity to do that. They just want to do. I know my husband is like that. He just want to do. But we plan it out. We orchestrate it. We make sure that, we try to see things before they happen. And yes, it's in Agile, we still have to do the plans. But, we don't have to do the plan right down to the T, but we do the plans. So I think those are some of the things that women come with that might be a little different from men. Ravi,
Yeah,
I
you know,
crave
yeah.
what you think about that. And Tabitha, I can see you're dying to say something,
Yes.
but I just wondered Ravi thinks, since he's the guy on this panel. So what do you think, Ravi? What do you think about that?
Yeah, you know, when I compare and contrast, my default approach is like I just used to have one gear, which
Yes,
is,
that's it.
it's almost like, okay, there's a problem, let me solve the
Fix it.
problem. When I contrast it with the women leaders that I'm trying to emulate, it feels like they read the room first and they process. And maybe as they walk into a room, or it could be a Zoom room, or it could be a real room, it feels like in a matter of microseconds, they are taking in gigabytes of information and they are processing, and they are not a one-trick pony. Like, they've got lots of markers. What is the situation calling for? Do I need to, you know, do I need to be cheerful? Do I need to lighten up the mood? Or is everybody too hyper? Do I need to calm them down? Or do they need encouragement? Or do I need to be firm? And one thing that I struggled with was, I have been told I have the tact of a sledgehammer, right? When I talk, it's so rough. But the women leaders that I admire, you know, when they mean business, but they say it in a kind way where you know not to mess with them. But the collateral damage that I used to cause with my style of communication, it's not there. So anyway, I really connect with what you're saying, but it took me so long to like roll the tape and to figure out, holy shit, what is the superpower she just used? And I feel I have a long way to go, but I feel that women are naturally gifted, and a life teaches you to build and strengthen those muscles. And I feel those characteristics, the emotional intelligence to read the situation and know which marker to use, is so important in enabling high performing Scrum teams. So those are my thoughts. Tabitha, I'd love to hear from you. What superpowers do you think women bring to this role?
I think you and Cecile covered a lot of it too, but I would just love to add a few things. I mean, it kind of maybe sum up some of those things that you were mentioning. I think as a woman Scrum Master, we can kind of bring a more empathetic aspect to the role of a Scrum Master. Not saying that men aren't empathetic, but I think we can just kind of, like you said, sense that feeling and kind of lead with more empathy in a sense of than being kind of like, you mentioned the hammer becoming in, softer sometimes. Um, I for one have noticed we can be excellent multitaskers. I learned this firsthand, kind of with this whole COVID situation. As women, we put on a whole different set of many hats, and it was kind of right there on display. We had moms, we had, we were being our moms, we were being organizers, we were also doing our work, and it was kind of like right there in front of everyone. I hate saying it that way, but they weren't. See, I really learned about myself as, man, I guess I do manage a lot, because it was hard managing school for multiple kids and being able to still fulfill my work needs and responsibilities. And I've learned that from what I've noticed as well, we can sometimes be stronger listeners. You know what I mean? Sometimes we can kind of listen into those words that sometimes are unspoken that people aren't saying, using the intuition, like you said, and maybe be a little softer in regards to communication and being able to address the elephant in the room. You know what I mean? That some people just may not, guys may feel uncomfortable with addressing, you know what I'm saying? That we can sometimes address in a more tactful way. So those are just some of the softer skills, I guess you want to call those, that we can kind of add to the Scrum Master role.
Very good, very good. And I am seeing a comment which says, look, it's not, soft skills is not gender based. So I'm not trying to reduce an entire gender. I'm not trying to imply, I should be super careful. I apologize if I implied that. I'm not trying to imply that all guys don't have tact or all women have tact. It's just something that I feel more women in my career seem to have that superpower that I am trying to, that seems to come naturally, that I have to work so hard at doing things which they seem to just do effortlessly. I do have so there's one question. How might we manage the unintended consequence? Like, how do we avoid people treating you as the mom? And maybe you already answered it in terms of, pull up the Scrum Guide, educate them. This is who I am. And maybe sometimes I'll be mom and sometimes I won't. But is there anything else you would like to add besides what you might already have shared to address that question from the audience?
I can kind of take this. This was something that I'm still learning as a Scrum Master how to manage, because I wear my mom hat a lot at home and of course at work. And I think a lot of women may have struggled with this as well. So that's a really good question. One of the things that I feel that we can kind of do to kind of say, hey, I'm not mom, is I kind of go back to the beginning of what I said, those boundaries. I remember there was a moment I kind of experienced that I was kind of like, this doesn't feel as comfortable to me, that you kind of, relying on me in that way. And I was like, let me kind of establish those boundaries. Hey, I'm here to support you. I'm here to coach you and help you be successful, but maybe just not in that type of manner. I have to take that hat off. I'm at work. I have Tabitha, Scrum Master businesswoman here today, mom's at home, but I still have an empathetic heart for you. I want to help you be successful. So I think it's going back around. It's all about establishing those boundaries and being aware of your own internal feelings and intuition. Does this feel normal? If it doesn't, then set those boundaries in a nice, polite way. That's my advice.
Yeah, I actually had a VP who was a woman leader, and she would actually say that I'm not your mom. Here are the things I will do, and here are the things I won't do. Nag emails. Here's that action item. Here's the deadline. This is what I expect. But please be aware, I'm not going to send you like a million nag emails. Did you do it? Did you clean your room? Did you clean your room? Did you update your hours? Right? Did you finish the product vision? So that's an actual quote that I remember from a real world client. Very good. Okay. So let's move on. So we spoke about maybe some duality, some things that might surprise people. Do you have any approaches besides, setting boundaries as you navigate these challenges? Are there any other suggestions, concrete suggestions you would share with your sister in terms of overcoming the most common barriers a woman agile leader might face in the industry?
I would like to add, just to know that you aren't alone. You know what I mean? There are other people there. Have your network, have your sounding board, like Cecile mentioned. These are some things that I've learned that it's been helpful for me. Having my network there to support me as well as knowing that I'm not alone in that. Whatever you may be going through at this moment, whether it's at work, in a situation where positive, negative, whatever, you aren't alone, and nothing's wrong with you. You're perfect the way you are. Just keep doing your best. And that would be something I would like to really push to others with female Scrum Masters. No, you're doing your best. You are capable. You are smart. You can do anything you put your mind to, is one of my favorite quotes. And just keep working hard and be true to yourself and understand, and true to your values, and put that forward and do your best. That's what I would say.
Very good. Thank you.
Agreed.
Cecile?
Agreed. And I want to add as well, I mentioned this before, learn, keep on learning. It's as with every profession, but this one, you're working with so many different persons, sometimes from, ethnic backgrounds, religious, you name it, persons from different countries. Learn even about their culture, about other person's way of doing things. So it's just continuous learning. Recognize that it doesn't end. You can't become a Scrum Master at the highest level and stop. It is going to go on for as long as you're alive, and no matter what profession you're in. As a person aspiring to be a leader, you really have to learn as much as you can about different things. But about the agile world, if you want to stay in the agile world, I'm encouraging you to stay. It is wonderful. It is fun. We get to make cool stuff, like really, really cool software. I'm not from a tech background, so this is my first tech experience that I'm having. There is no fear coming in with no tech experience, your team will help you. Find your allies, find the people on the team. I would go to my team, or my caveat would be, listen, my tech brain is a pea size. So help me out here. And then I say what I have to say. So you can be a Scrum Master even without tech background in the tech industry. But learn, continue to learn. And if your team sees that you're learning and growing and coming the next day to talk about, something, I work with artificial intelligence a lot. And so sometimes I would say, guys, I saw this cool thing, and I would bring it up. And because I use YouTube a lot, I use Udemy, I use Coursera. I just try to find different ways that I can learn and grow. The other thing I want to say is, remember, sometimes you have to teach the men, especially, to understand from a woman's perspective. So sometimes be a teacher, help them to understand. Somebody may rub you the wrong way. Figure out, was it intentional, or was this just an unconscious bias? Because this will happen too, the unconscious bias where they don't see it that way. So don't take things personal. Recognize that you're also there to help the company, the atmosphere, who you are and how you present yourself, the person that comes into the room, whether it's online or not, makes a difference. So be the person. Sometimes I pray before I go in, especially when I know that, my team is in a hard place. I say a prayer. I said, okay, I need some help here. So do whatever you need to do, but I bring my full self to work. That's one thing I will tell you. So do that. Bring your full self. And if you don't know, it's okay to say, guys, I don't know. I've never seen this before. Let me go check it out. That builds credibility.
Very cool. Curiosity, be curious. If you're curious about your space,
Yes.
It will show, because it doesn't feel like drudgery or a headache. You're just curious. You're out there. Google and YouTube might be the best teachers. And then you've Coursera, Udemy, so many things. If you're curious, that's awesome.
Yes.
Be humble. It's okay to say, I don't know. And in fact, I actually prefer non-technical Scrum Masters, because if you are technical and you have a strong desire to help your team, because you want to help them so bad, what you know could actually become an impediment, because you may unintentionally impede the self-management of the team, because you're rolling up your sleeves and solving problems. And then what happens when you're not there? So I love it when Scrum Masters are not technical. And also, I feel the problem on agile teams is not that there is a lack of technical people. The problem is there is a lack of people who can understand other human beings, especially the customer. Very often the customer is not a coder who is living like in the world of coding. And I feel it would help if we had non-technical people to build a bridge between the world of the customers and users and the world of the geeks. All right. Okay. So as we start wrapping up, maybe if you could give advice to someone like me, and if my question to you was, Cecile, Tabitha, I have a long way to go. I've made mistakes. I'm sure I'm going to make mistakes in the future. What is one thing you would like me to keep in mind as I try to create a more inclusive organization? And not because it's like motherhood and apple pie, but if I have a selfish motive, I want my team to succeed. I want my company to succeed. It's in my self-interest to allow my women Scrum Masters to be awesome. What is one piece of advice you would give to me?
And the you we're talking about is the man?
Is the man in the company, is maybe a powerful man, maybe in some cases is a man who has a good heart, but terrible skills. And maybe in another case, it's a powerful man who doesn't give a shit about all this equality and inclusion.
Gotcha.
That person just cares about, I want to make more money, I want to meet my bonus, or I want to save money, or I don't want to get in trouble with the government. So speak to either one of those.
Yes. Take a quick second and say to yourself first. That's what I would say to him. Take a quick second, say to yourself first and hear what it sounds like. Because there are times when we will say things, and like I said, sometimes it's unconscious bias. And sometimes, as you said, there's some people who just don't care. So say to yourself first, let's say that somebody did say something and I wanted to intervene. Because of my personality, I recognize that my situations can be different, but there are people who are more introverted than I am. There are persons who are, speak up when things happen, and I see something to intervene. I would call them immediately. I don't allow things to pass. I don't just call them over immediately. Now, if I want to say to this person, apart from saying it to himself first, is recognize that we are all here as partners. This is not, there's only one pie and we have to divide it up for all of us. There is a pie for all of us. So let us just work together to put all these pies together and make it bigger and better. That's what I would say to the man. There's no need for us to have a tug of war over anything. We're all here with our gifts, with our talents, with our differences to really make it colorful. So if we go into a garden and we only see all, yellow flowers, I like yellow, so I'm using yellow. It's not going to be as beautiful or as impactful as when you see the various colors just all melting together and you go, wow. So that's what I would say to the man. We come in different colors. And when I say colors, I'm talking about, flowers colors, not, whether you're white or black or no. I'm talking about just recognize that the colorfulness of people is what contributes to the whole that makes it full and makes it whole. That's what I would say to the man. So embrace us, embrace people. It's not, sometimes it's not about man or woman, but just embrace people for who they are and the differences with.
Yeah, embrace the diversity and we'll make a bigger pie and there'll be more pie to share as opposed to fighting over a small pie, getting more of a smaller pie. Let's make a humongous pie and let's tap into the diversity of people to create the biggest, tastiest pie. All right. Tabitha, what advice would you give? That was awesome.
No, I think Cecile, she's kind of took what I would say. You know what? Try to look at everybody as they each individual person. That's very important. And those were some of the ways that I would literally direct it or attack that situation. Is try to see each person as an individual and understand that everyone's different and that we can all make a better. Just work together and form a greater pact of doing what we need to do is what I would pretty much say. So I think she hit the nail right on the head as well as you, Ravi. And that's exactly how I would feel, is just try to lead with that and deal with those when you have those type of personalities that are very, like you said, like, I just want to get the job done. Hey, you have to look at everybody. Those are people. It's not just a number or a person, a chair just sitting there. Those are people. Look at them. That's a beautiful flower, that's adding to your garden. So just look at the world in a bigger place. That's what I would advise.
And I want to
Yeah,
add,
we use the
Ravi,
word
before we go, that
go ahead, Cecile.
and especially for us as human beings, recognize the persons who are more quiet and call them out. What are your thoughts? So I will call on someone, if I think Tabitha is a quiet person in the team or a quiet person in the group, I'll say, Tabitha, do you have anything you want to add here? Just to make them feel included. They may say no, and they may always say no, but I still call them out just so they can understand, hey, let me pay attention because she might call on me or he might call on me. So that way it really helps the inclusiveness of working.
Yeah. And some of my best ideas have come from the introverted thinkers, because they're thinking, they're quiet. That doesn't mean they're not thinking. The gears are turning. And when I invite them to the party, man, the kind of ideas they come up with is amazing. Very cool. Awesome. Closing thoughts, are there any resources? I know that Cecile mentioned the 4 agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, Coursera, Udemy, YouTube. Are there any, maybe what is the single most important resource, if any, you would recommend to your sister as she was trying to be more successful in her role as an agile leader? Anything additional that comes to mind?
I'm gonna say scrum.org website, the resources, the forums there are a lot of questions, and the various persons, persons in the industry who have been doing this for a while. Some persons may call them gurus, experts, you name it, but they help you to understand and to pull apart some of the challenges and the questions and the how-tos. They're there. So I want to go with scrum.org website. And there are other things there, that can also help you to navigate. Where do I want to go? Do I want to move in the direction of a Scrum Master or product owner? And YouTube, or wonderful university called YouTube. It's there. Tabitha?
Very nice.
For me, it's my network. It's my role models, the people I look up to that I really say, they're rock stars to me. That's where I reach out to learn. So I feel like people who, scrum.org, I have to agree, that's my number one. If I ever got a question, I'm stumped, I'm like, scrum.org. That's my go-to. That's a great point, Cecile. But for me, it's my network. They have real life experiences. They've done things. You can listen to them, learn from them, and then build off of that and, and approach it in a way where you can gain those skills and see the pros and cons of what they did and improve it possibly, or do the same that's worked. And that's really helpful. That's really useful for me. And that's just one of the things I do. Scrum.org is my go-to. My network is always, you know what I mean? Reach out. People have done that, been there, and there's some great leaders in this community.
And Ravi, or meetups.
Yes, meetups. Yes.
Meetups. How could I forget that? That was my foundation.
Yes.
Oh, yes. The meetups all over. Yes, including this one.
Yes.
Lots of free learning in meetups. All right. Well, Cecile, Tabitha, it's been such an honor to learn from you, and I will continue my learning. For all our attendees, I hope you found this useful. If you are a woman leader, don't feel alone, and be kind and supportive for other women leaders in your company. And if you have guys like me who are not appreciative or inclusive, set us straight. So with that, I hope you found this useful. I'd love to see you again in a future event. Thank you. Keep calm and scrum on.
Thank you, Ravi. My pleasure.
Thank you, Ravi.